So hi everyone. People are just getting seated. Usually having the late afternoon spot is not the best thing, but apparently I was anticipated, so that's good at least. Like it says, I'm the CMO of Elite Hotels, and my background is not in the hotel industry. I was at agencies for about 10 years. So I worked at creative agencies and strategic agencies and whatnot. So I came in with a pair of fresh eyes into the hotel industry, and with those fresh eyes, I saw a lot of differences between the hospitality industry and the other industries that I've been covering for the last 10 years. And there's quite substantial differences between these. I mean, if you take in terms of digital maturity, in terms of how you tackle things, not to mention all the underlying systems that the hotel industry hosts. I usually say that if I was to run a retail company, say that I would be selling shoes, I could most likely be up and running within a few days with 3 out-of-the-box systems that fully integrates to each other. If I was to open a hotel, I would have to have 18 different systems and they all hate each other. That's a big difference. But, whoa, this one was quick. I think most of you guys know what Elite Hotels is. It's one of the biggest hotel groups in the Nordic region. We're only in Sweden, the third largest, and we're famous for these kind of hotels. They used to be more or less abandoned during the 80s. It was a time when everyone wanted to create modern buildings within the small cities of Sweden, and they were to tear down all these amazing properties. And the owner and founder of Elite Hotels bought them and translated them into hotels, and one by one they grew, and now we have 42 of them. And I was covering a bit about who I was and how I came into this. And before I joined the Elite Hotels, my last project at the creative agency I was working with 2 major clients. One was Nike, and one was Klarna. And Klarna was about to launch their US endeavor. And somehow I got responsible for it, and it was quite a different setting. It was back at a time when Klarna was spending chunks of money on everything. So we had a massive budget, we had production days in Los Angeles, it was a massive crew, and I'm going to show you guys the case film. It has about 6 years on it, but it's quite interesting. And later you can tell me if you've seen anything quite like it in the hotel industry.
We found the U.S. payments landscape both boring and old-fashioned, pretty much the opposite of a smooth Swedish tech unicorn. So, when it was time to introduce America to the way of shopping and paying online, we just had to make a splash. We set out to find the greatest shoppers alive and landed upon a culture that not only resonated with our target group, but also shared our fundamental values, aesthetic, and appetite for quirk. From the ballroom scene of the 80s to mainstream hit shows like Pose and RuPaul's Drag Race, drag has evolved from subculture phenomenon to pop culture institution.
Happy holidays, bitches!
We give you the Shop Like a Queen campaign.
Ain't that smooth shopping?
We handpicked the fiercest drag queens in the U.S. and challenged them to design and put together a smooth Klarna look. Nothing was off limits, as long as they shopped through the Klarna app. The process of creating each look was shared with the world and resulted in unique, inspiring content with our smooth shopping experience at the center. Klarna app users were treated to exclusive content like makeup tutorials, competitions, wish lists, Q&As, and live streams.
We are going to show you how to shop like a queen.
We collaborated with our merchants to enhance the campaign even more and featured them on the Queen's channels as well as our own.
For a chance to win a $100 gift card to Eddie Funkhauser.
The final looks were photographed in LA, showcasing the queens in a beautifully crafted, dreamlike backstage setting, all in true Klarna fashion.
That's amazing. Fantastic.
They were revealed to the public at World Pride in New York at the specially produced Klarna Broadway show, Looks and Laughs, where a full house watched the Queen strut down the runway to the sound of Swedish artist duo Icona Pop. What about those who couldn't make it to the show? Relax, it was live streamed in the Klarna app. But the campaign didn't end there. It got bigger. After a month of building brand awareness and engagement in social media, the campaign exploded onto billboards in Los Angeles and New York, and strategic online placements. The high-end images and films were repurposed as ads and pre-rolls, giving the wider community a taste of the Queen's shopping smoothness. All the effort was rewarded with amazing results. Millions engaged with the campaign on social media, and many even created their own fan art, memes, and films.
Klarna.
Almost 600,000 new users in the U.S. downloaded the Klarna app, moving us to the top of the lists on both App Store and Google Play. Organic search for Klarna in the U.S. grew with 487%. We reached a total of 390 million impressions and got an organic PR value of $1.34 million. That's how you introduce the U.S. to smooth shopping, by showing them how to shop like a queen.
So, one of the things that I came in with was massively building brands. The entire idea with all the clients I work with was brand. Nike was famous for, they didn't talk about the shoes or the qualities or the prices. They talked about athletes, and everyone was an athlete. Klarna didn't talk about their payment solutions that much. They talked about drag queens. And that was so different when I came into the hospitality industries, because it was an endless amount of pictures on beds with prices and what was included. It's kind of the opposite. And one of the things that I realized also after a few years in here is that, I mean, why should you care about your brand? Because the hotel, they sell, really. And in the last couple of years, we've seen inflation rise, we've seen rents rise, we've seen salary increases, we've seen the cost of sold goods increases. So if you ask the board of your company, all of them, if you work for a hotel group, are going to say profitability is going down. And one of the key things to try to tackle the situation is to make everything more streamlined using AI. The problem is that research show that anything created by AI surges the customer's willingness to pay for it. So if the customer knows it's created by AI, their willingness to pay goes down. So we're in a spiral to the bottom in terms of profitability. And one of the main key criteria to raise costs, or raise prices rather, is to increase your brand strength. If you can increase your brand strength, you can increase your prices. 1% increase in prices equals approximately 11% in profitability. 1% in volume is on average 3.3%. So it's more than 3 times as profitable to raise your prices as it is to raise the volume. But then it's, I mean, let's take it from the beginning. What is a brand? The brand is the idea of the company in the mind of the general public. So it's not the product, it's not the hotel, it's not the service. It's the idea of everything put together and combined. I'm going to show you an example.
Your logo is not your brand, and I'm going to prove it to you. Say this is your logo, but if I were to put my thumb over it, can you tell what brand that is? No. How about this brand? Yup. Do you know this brand? Uh-huh. What about this brand? Most definitely. Here's another. And another. Now look, no hands. You see, real brands understand the power of a comprehensive brand identity system. It goes beyond the logo. The color palette you choose evokes emotion. The typography you use communicates personality. The imagery you select tells a story. The words you use have meaning, and it's engraved in our heads to create a lasting impression.
So hopefully if you work for a brand and someone puts the hand over it, they will know exactly who you are. So why should you care about it? Well, here's one of the key graphs over the last 10 years in the marketing industry. It's done by two guys, Les Binet and Peter Fields. They revolutionized basically the entire marketing industry 10 years ago by saying that all of performance marketing is doing is to erode your brands. So one of the key things to create growth is to build your brand, because it's proven over and over again that brand building has better long-time sales growth than lowering prices or making any type of offering. The problem with brand building, as you see, the lower axis is time. It takes time. We're in a market where everything is either done quarterly or yearly, and these are processes that takes years to build. I mean, most of the biggest brands in the world has been working with their brands for decades, and they can see the growth over time. But to try to convince a CFO that return on investment is 3 years ahead will mostly get you fired today. So you need to start knowing. So one of the things that I saw a research, there was a professor on LinkedIn who came out and he showed a study that said, out of the marketing executive he has interviewed, was like 89% of them knew that their brand work was related to growth and in profitability. And only 11% of the same people said that they could convey that their CFO that was the case. So one of the things that you need to do if you're working within this field is to get the arguments right to why you need to invest in brand, even though the return on investment isn't immediate. So where's the difference between brand building and sales activation, which they're talking about? So one of the things with brand building, and this is key, it's that it creates mental brand equity. And when you try to make sales or offers on anything, you exploit it. So let's say, for example, that I start a new company that sells, I don't know, phones, and I go out and discount them. Will anyone buy? Most likely not. But if Apple does the same thing, and they discount their new iPhone, you will have lines after lines after lines all over their stores, all over the city, because their brand is exceptionally strong. So they created the brand equity in order to activate it. Then they don't even have to. We spend ridiculous amounts on iPhones anyway. If I just look at a table, most of the phones here are iPhones. And it's not necessarily because the iPhone is such an ultimately better product than the competitors, I would argue. And if you ask most tech nerds, they would probably agree with me, but yet we still buy them. This is an interesting graph as well. I had to dig fairly hard into the research for this one. So brand building promotions have more beneficial pricing impact than discount promotions. I mean, that's a pretty amazing statement, and the data backs it up, which means that if you build your brand, it's going to create stronger beneficial pricing impact than if you try to discount. Another reason to invest in your brand. Another quote from Les Binet. The stronger the effect on brand metrics like mental availability and positivity towards the brand, the more likely you are to reduce price sensitivity. And if you try to fix profitability as a problem, price sensitivity is one of the key functions to focus on. So you need to know what to measure, and you need to know what to invest in order to affect it. This is another graph that is quite interesting as well. It's made by Kantar. They make the biggest brand evaluation in the world. It's called Brand C. And one of the things you can see there is that you have all the major crises. You have the financial crisis at 2008. You have the pandemic. And what you can see is that the stronger the brand is, the shorter the fall is. And the quicker it recovers after the catastrophe. So you lose less money with a stronger brand, and you gain more money when the market explodes. So the growth is higher the stronger the brand is, but the negative impact of having a crisis, next pandemic, next war, next whatever, is going to be better for the strongest brands. So if China is to invade Taiwan tomorrow and you have a really strong brand, you'll make it better than if you don't. So our industry, we're pretty good at marketing and digital though, are we? This is a consulting agency called Jade Wolf, and they set out to look at some of the top brands in the world, and they made up all these metrics, and they tried to score them after how they managed to succeed in these different things. So there was tons of different categories, subcategories, and they did 3 months of research. And they looked at UX, UI, functionality, luxury branding, content, email, advertising, social, and luxury psychology. And mind you, this is the 30 top brands in the world. So how is it overall? 57% is average, 26% is bad, and 17% is good. None is excellent. If you do the same thing within the retail industry, do you think you'd have the same response? Mention the top brands in the world, most of them in retail. If you look at Louis Vuitton, if you look at Dior, Saint Laurent, all of them, they're excellent in basically all of these areas. Nike. Luxury branding, they must be really good at because they operate in luxury. Nope, not really. Only 27% were good. You look at advertising, they must be good in that because they sell. Nope, not really. 37% average, 46% bad. And here is I hope no one works for these companies. This is not that I necessarily agree with him in terms of, because he's quite critical, but yeah.
If Nike opened a hotel, I think we would be able to guess pretty accurately what it would be like. If Hyatt came out with sneakers, we'd have no clue. Because Hyatt doesn't have a brand. They have a logo. If I swapped the signs on a hotel at that price point, you couldn't tell. If you were to Marriott, if you were to Hilton, if you were to Hyatt, the hallway, the room, I don't know, where am I? No brand. So what it means to have a brand is you've made a promise to people. They have expectations. It's a shorthand. What should I expect the next time? And if that is distinct, you've earned something. The problem that Hyatt and Hilton and Marriott and the rest have is sort by price. Because if I go online now to find a hotel, it's really simple. Sort by price. Why would I pay $200 extra to go a block away? I don't. So what's the value of a brand? The value of a brand is how much extra am I paying above the substitute. And if I'm not paying extra, you don't have a brand.
So the value of a brand is how much is the client willing to pay or the customer above the substitute. That's the value of the brand. So if you can charge more than your competitors, you have a stronger brand. If you can't, you don't. And that difference is everything. That's where you solve your profitability. And there's also far more key factors in how to create a brand that's interesting. I mean, one of the problems that I saw when I came into the industry is that everyone does pretty much the same thing. I mean, the hotel setting's different because the hotels look a bit different, but they're mostly functional marketing. It's a picture of a bed, it's a picture of a breakfast, it's a picture, if you have a pool, there's a picture of that. There's zero emotions to it. And if you go to B2B marketing when in the hotel industry, it's even worse. It's an endless amount of tables and chairs. And you don't really sell anything with pictures of chairs and pens. So have a look at how it could be done.
Images. No. How about Coca-Cola? Hardly. And McDonald's? Same here. The reason why these big brands don't have any product images on their pages is because they sell the feeling, not the product. Red Bull sells the feeling of adrenaline and energy. Coca-Cola sells joy and happiness, and so does McDonald's. This marketing tactic is called emotional selling, where brands create an emotional connection with their customer and use the same feeling in their advertisements. Don't forget to do some research about emotional selling and follow for more value.
Because at the end of the day, people don't buy things for functionality reasons. They buy things with emotion. We justify it with rationale. So how many times haven't you gone into a store and you bought something and afterwards you said, yeah, well, I did need a jacket for the winter because it's becoming cold. But you didn't buy it because it was practical and functional. You bought it because you liked it. And that's the same thing with brand building. You try to create a brand that people like so they want to engage with you. And if you put some time and effort into creating assets that actually has creative elements in them, your effect on your marketing is going to be so much better. I mean, there's been tons of studies that looks at how many of the creative ads and how they perform in terms of return on investment. I mean, there's 40 years of studies that says the same thing. The more the creative the marketing is, the better the output. So there's really no need to sell hotel rooms using beds. I used to work a lot with this company, and they were a pretty amazing company to work for because, I mean, Coca-Cola is a marketing company. They have their company set up depending on what they do. So they have one company on the stock market that only does the production of the beverages, but the Coca-Cola company only does marketing. So it's fairly easy to say that they care about marketing. Nike is a production company, but they operate as a marketing company. When you work with them, everyone who works within the company lives the brand to the full. The first time I had was we were supposed to go on set at a production in Paris, and I didn't wear Nikes. So they sent me to the Nike store to get Nikes. I had to pay for them myself. But you don't go on set on Nike production without Nike shoes on. You don't. You could go buy Converse because they own Converse as well. But you live the brand to the fullest. And that was quite cool to see. And this campaign was spectacular because what they did, for those that don't know, so one of the guys, he kneeled during the national anthem in the US, which is you don't. I mean, if you know anyone from the US, you just don't. It's sacrilege. And Nike took a stand for him in this, and they made a massive campaign out of it. And even Trump went out and, said it was the worst thing he ever seen. But the results were amazing. The stock market exploded, the sales exploded, everything went good. And that's Nike in a nutshell. They've always taken a stance. And then they changed their CEO.
People posting videos burning Nike shoes.
Nike is running straight into a political controversy.
People are so angry they're burning their own shoes.
Colin Kaepernick refused to stand during the national anthem, taking a knee to protest police brutality.
Nike revealed Colin Kaepernick as the face of its latest marketing campaign.
Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything.
Is Nike taking a risk?
I think they're taking a stand, and I love that.
They might lose business.
Nike stock today dropping over 3%.
And I'm never buying another Nike product again.
Who's going to win this cultural showdown of standing for the anthem?
We are. Check this out. I went out today and bought me some Nikes.
I want to applaud Nike. Speak up. We're right behind you.
This thing is bigger than just the United States, and I think it resonates throughout the world.
Kaepernick asegura que es
Colin Kaepernick, c'est un 30 años de su lema Just Do It.
Nike stock reached an all-time high last Friday.
I think Nike is on the right side of history. So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
I didn't work with this campaign. I wasn't fortunate enough to do. I actually know a few of the creative guys that was on it, and it was. So I asked Tad. He was at White and Kennedy at the time, and I told what happened when they came to the president of Nike at that time and said we want to do this. He said, "I just signed a $8 billion contract with the NFL, so hell no." And they went back to Phil, who created the company, and they fired the president and he created a campaign. That was how I knew the company. But then they changed their president again, and this happened.
This schmuck's management consulting thinking nearly single-handedly destroyed the Nike brand. Let's talk about what went wrong so you don't make the same mistake. Brands are a unique industry because your job is to create intangible value. But it's for that very reason that outside the marketing department, everyone in your business hates you. They hate you because despite all of this fancy methodology, creativity is the one thing in business that evades quantification. We're talking about cognition and emotion. This is at best an inexact science. And in business, people want certainty. I put in X, I get out Y. And management consultancies are ground zero of this point of view. Bulletproof Problem Solving is an enthralling piece written by ex-McKinsey consultants that really step you through how they view problem solving. And in chapter 1, what do you have? The author showing how to decide where you should live by creating a list of variables and assigning them quantitative weightings. These people view the entirety of human experience as if it's something that can be reduced to a number. And where do you think the CEO of Nike cut his teeth? 23 years as a management consultant. That explains why he treated Nike as if it was a tech company, why they shifted all of their spending from long-term brand building to short-term performance marketing, and why they obliterated their brand salience by cutting out all of their wholesale channels. Because these people would rather do something wrong that they can control rather than something right that they can't. And we've all seen the result. Now you can see Nike have finally realized the error of their ways. The Olympics campaign was a really strong return to form for Nike, but we all know that good brand building takes time. If you're an executive in a brand-led business, be careful what you trust these people with. They are very intelligent, excellent operators, and even better communicators. But they don't understand what they can't see, and they can't see a lot. But just because something's intangible doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But hey, don't take my word for it. Check the data.
So the Nike shifting from brand to performance marketing almost killed their own brand. And one of the things I wanted to be aware of, if you look at the campaign I showed you before in the Kaepernick thing, is that there was no shoes, there was no prices. There was only emotions and ideas and visions. And that's how you build the brand. And one of the key things I had to do when I came into Elite was to try to convince our board that there was a good idea to invest in brand. And, well, they weren't very easy to purvey. Luckily, we have an owner that loves brands, so she was more of a, let's do it. And the results are quite good. We managed to double the revenue on our e-commerce. I mean, there's some great results that came out of just trying to change the things we worked. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's not all brand-led. It has tons to do with all the departments within Elite who does amazing jobs. But at the very core of things, to try to change the perception of something is to do something different. There's an old saying that if you do the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same results. So in order to change, you need to do something new. And brand is the fuel in which you will try to create growth and create profitability. That's my absolute key takeaway from this presentation. So we were also in the same study that Kantar did. At 1 year, they did the hotel industry in Sweden. And they've never done it before, and they probably will never do it again. And one of the key takeaways was that after we invested in brand for a few years, we showed the best momentum in relations to everyone else. So, if I can give you some ideas on what to do. So, besides stop investing everything into Google, what can we do? Well, you can't strengthen your pricing power by reaching your core target audience. It's impossible. If you Talk to the people. So the point with performance marketing is to try to convey the people who are closest to buying, right? Those are the people who already like you. So if you want to take market share, you need to talk to people who are not really your consumers at this very moment. That's also why it takes more time. You need to convey them to choose you instead of everyone else. So you need to go for reach, which is also really hard to purvey, because then at the end of the day, your return on ad spend will go down. So you have to tell someone that I need to reduce my ad spend in order for long-term profit. And I understand it's quite hard, but it works. And the second one is emotion. Stop showing pictures of tables and chairs. Try to find the emotions, try to find the feeling, try to find something that makes people want to buy your things. I mean, a couple of years ago, I know that TUI made one of these things, where it's basically all the advertising campaign was the feeling of going on vacation. It wasn't the right feeling, because there was a family with kids, and I have kids, and it sure as hell doesn't look like that when you go on vacation. But the feeling I got when I looked at it was, oh, damn, I want to go to Thailand. I mean, take my money. And that's what we're trying to change, because we're selling experiences. Someone said it in the past when they related us to retail. We sell experiences. Try to show the experience you're selling. That's one of the key takeaways I've learned in this, is that we're pretty beneficial to stand in a place where we can sell experiences and emotions as part of what we do. We don't have to reduce it to a product. And the third one is fame. So try to make your campaign as famous as possible, because fame as a category has been shown, proven to reduce price sensitivity. And at the end of the day, we want to increase our prices so profitability goes up. Thank you.